Sweet, fresh meat.
Ah, slashers. You give us so much joy with your ridiculous characters, high body count, and great times to be had. Amongst our summertime celebrations, something else was steadily creeping up on us. That's right. We've got a day chosen for its bad luck that has been completely overtaken by a domineering, hockey mask-wearing psychopath. Friday the 13th. So many to choose from, 12 exactly, yet the decision is never easy. Go with the original, even though it doesn't have Jason as we know him? Do we do part 4, where we have Corey Feldman debuting the Tommy Jarvis character? Or do we go with something totally out of left field and see what Jason gets up to when he goes on big boats to metropolitan areas?
Put that meat slime bag! Yo man, it's cool. It's cool, man. It's cool.
No. We're going to look at one Friday the 13th to praise. We have to look at the most universally loved film. Yes sir, today we're diving into the world of Jason Lives. Friday the 13th Part 6. Because it's time for some real slashers.
Jason belongs in hell, and I'm gonna see he gets there.
Seeing as how this is the 6th film in the series, we better give you some background. For those unaware, Friday the 13th all started when little mongoloid Jason Voorhees drowned in Camp Crystal Lake due to counselor neglect. Getting revenge for her son, Pamela Voorhees attacked the counselors responsible, as well as anyone that tried to open the camp again. Only things didn't end so well for Pamela. And turns out that Jason was actually still alive, and he's a hillbilly mountain man now. Well, he was. Then he becomes this weird bald mongoloid. It can be a tad confusing, but he at least gets his hockey mask here, so there's some consistency with that. So Jason sets up shop at Crystal Lake and murders anyone who happens to piss him off in his territory. His time frame is up for debate though, because this is the Jarvis family. They live in a house at Crystal Lake, yet Jason doesn't seem to bother them for a very long time. Until he doesn't. Only that turns out to be a big mistake for him. So it can be kind of confusing. So much so that he ends up in a variety of mental wards. He knows Jason is still alive. Eventually, he and his buddy head to Jason's grave to put his suspicions to rest once and for all. This is when we get to the good stuff. Irony. Noun. The expression of one's meaning by using language that normally signifies the opposite, typically for humorous or emphatic effect. Tommy makes the boneheaded decision to accidentally resurrect Jason, which sets him on a mission to kill Mr. Voorhees. You know, put him in a grave. The exact thing that was already happening before Tommy decided to butt in. Racked with guilt, he goes to tell the local police about it. Only they don't believe him. Surprise, surprise. You know who does believe him though? The sheriff's super cute daughter, Megan. So Tommy and Megan set out on a journey to put Jason back in the ground. It involves several car chases, getting locked up, and even holding up a police officer with a gun. The stakes are high, which makes sense because Jason is in a particularly kill-friendly mood. Just look at this business retreat that he interrupts. That's right, some company decides that they're going to do their business retreat on little old Camp Crystal Lake. Not only that, but they're going to have a paintball tournament in the woods. While we only see 5 people, it's implied that there are even more, so who knows how many Jason actually killed in the process. But we get this cool triple murder out of it. Jason goes on a bit of a rampage throughout the camp, even teasing that he's going to kill some of the child campers.
So, what were you gonna be when you grew up?
Thankfully, it doesn't come to that, and he just kills a bunch of counselors and cops instead. But once he runs out of cops and counselors... Tommy stops Jason in the nick of time and lures him out into the water. Not really thinking of the fact that Jason does just fine in water, something that other films seem to forget. After a lot of struggling, Tommy is able to wrap Jason up in a massive chain and send him down to the lake bed, trapped forever. Just kidding, a telekinetic teenager sets him free because she's thinking hard about her dead dad. Yeah.
I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
This killer is so absurdly popular that he has his very own specific theme music. You hear that iconic score and your mind begins to conjure the hulking form of the hockey mask wearing psychopath. He's on the Mount Rushmore of horror for a reason. Let's just look at his resume leading up to this point. Friday Part 1. Doesn't directly kill anyone, but his mother kills 9 people, all in the name of little mongoloid Jason. Friday Part 2. Jason kills 9 different people, including macheteing a handicapped man in the face. Friday Part 3. This time Jason takes his killing to a whole other dimension and 12 more people meet their maker, including this particularly brutal chop to a man's nether regions. Friday Part 4. Jason manages to take out 13 miscreants before being taken out himself and becoming worm food. Friday Part 5. Well, no point in talking about this one because, spoiler alert, it was an imposter because Jason is super dead and definitely not coming back. Though I guess we can give him credit for killing these 2 gentlemen in the beginning. Sure, it was a dream and all, but we're looking at the silver lining here. We won't count that towards the total though. So that brings us to Part 6, and surprise surprise, he's back like Frankenstein's monster. And he's starting off with a total body count so far of 34. Despite this being the 5th sequel, it's also only Jason's 4th film, which makes the count all the more impressive. He definitely gets some points here. He punches through a guy's chest, shoves a girl's face through a wall, and straight up bends this policeman in half. But even then, the kills in this are very mild compared to the rest of the series. This was coming at a time where the Motion Picture Association of America was looking to make an example of slasher movies, and the Friday the 13th series was firmly in their crosshairs. Unfortunate, but we still got some creative kills out of it. They just cut away quickly and don't go too overboard with the blood. And to say that Jason Voorhees has mommy issues would be the understatement of the century. This guy is ready to kill absolutely every single person that even steps foot on his land. You do that and you may as well have killed Jason's mom yourself because he's coming for you. But if you leave his land, he doesn't really seem to care all too much so long as you weren't the one to actually kill his mother. So this makes Jason very unique from Freddy or Michael, who really go the extra mile to finish any job they start. The only issue is that none of his would-be victims ever seem to realize that, and they tend to stick around to die. Just go anywhere that's not Crystal Lake, you dummies. While Jason has been portrayed in a variety of ways in past films, his look from Part 4 on has been pretty set in stone, with minor differences here and there. That is until this monstrosity, but we don't need to talk about that. And when it comes to the actor underneath the hockey mask, the story of Part 6 becomes even more complicated. Most genre fans know CJ Graham is the Part 6 Jason. If you weren't aware of him due to his vicious performance as Voorhees, you were probably aware of his super friendly demeanor on the horror convention circuit. But if I were to tell you that he didn't play Jason for a scene in the movie, do you think you'd be able to pick that one out? Really wasn't that hard, was it? When production kicked off, Jason Voorhees was to be portrayed by this man, Dan Bradley, and producers immediately noted how hefty he had gotten since they'd seen him last.
For a person who had been dead for a long time, he had been eating pretty well.
So he was promptly replaced by CJ Graham, and the rest is history.
Court, you didn't already.
Oh, come on, wasn't that the end of the song?
With the film being such a tribute to past Friday films, you'd think that the nudity would be in full force, but instead we're treated to what amounts to a PG-13. No boobs, no bush, nothing. The 2 leads, Tommy and Megan, are both attractive and their flirty nature is fun to watch. But that's about it. Instead, we get a sex scene that amounts to a lot of grinding between Nikki and Court. But it does lead to one of the coolest sequences of the series. Sorry, we were getting sidetracked by murder. Back to the sex. There's a combination of attractive dudes and ladies throughout the film, but this may as well be PG-13. In fact, this is the only film in the entire Friday the 13th franchise without any nudity. But that's just the thing. We wanted to show that you don't need TNA to be a good slasher, just like you don't need fun characters or original deaths. But dagnabbit, you better have 2 out of 3.
During my love scene, they had a little powwow and said, we don't have any nudity in this. So they asked me if I'd be interested in doing it topless, and the contracts had been signed, so that just didn't seem to pan out.
Wait. So they realized that they didn't have any nudity at the last minute? This seems like a pretty big oversight for a Friday the 13th. Though maybe after the near porno that Part 5 ended up being, it was probably time to dial things back.
Jason belongs in hell, and I'm gonna see he gets there.
There are plenty of interesting scenes to talk about from this film. From the RV scene to the paintball sequence, being unique is all that director Tom McLaughlin seems to do. But the movie really stands out with its opening. You see a truck speed off down the road. The intensity on Tommy's face tells us all we need to know. He's a man on a mission. Having been haunted by visions of Jason since childhood, he's set to finish the job. Tommy's whole plan is to burn up Jason's corpse so that he can't come back to life. Joining him on this mission is his buddy Alan, played by Ron Palillo of Welcome Back Kotter fame. They met at the sanitarium and he's joining his mission because I'm not really sure why. He clearly doesn't want to be there. His trust in Tommy must be really, really high.
Hell, I must be crazy.
Poor guy. Tommy and Alan arrive at the cemetery and we're treated to this wonderful gothic look. With the lightning, you can imagine this is a scene from an old Universal film. In fact, let's make this black and white. Better. The contrast of the colors is really what makes this sequence shine, and nothing showcases that better than desaturating the image. Especially once they start digging up the grave and we get an even better look at the surroundings. Absolute magic. In fact, if you've never watched the entirety of Jason Lives in black and white, it's highly recommended you do so, as evidenced by this. Back to color, Tommy and Alan dig up the casket, and surprisingly, Jason is still there, untouched. Letting out all of his frustrations, he stabs the corpse of Jason with a massive metal pole. It's funny to think that all of this could have been avoided if Tommy simply had a little bit of anger management. Oh well. Tommy's a man on a mission, and his mission is to burn this rotting corpse. That's when the universal horror of it all really comes into play, as we get a Frankenstein revival of Jason as lightning strikes down upon the pole, sending what I assume is 1.21 gigawatts of electricity into his body. And just like Frankenstein's monster, Jason is reborn. But Tommy is completely ignorant to this and instead just thinks about how he just can't leave that fence pole in Jason's body, because that would be disrespectful. So he struggles getting the pole out and has to get down into the grave to get proper leverage.
I can't take any more of this.
Jason springs into action and tries to get Tommy. They struggle a bit and Tommy knows he needs to finish his plan. He gets the gasoline ready and what's a little lightning without a little rain? Oh, the irony of this scene is just too good that you can practically see Tom McLaughlin smiling in the background. Alan tries to save the day, but that proves to be a major mistake. Well, at least he was right about his heart. Tommy speeds off down the road with the same mission of stopping Jason. Only this time Jason actually needs to be stopped. Again, the irony. Back at the cemetery, Jason turns to camera and we get this super slick James Bond title sequence. If only they'd gone all the way and gone full Bond through the titles a la Goldfinger and had body parts flying around as the credits rolled. Still, it's extremely fun and sets the tone early that this isn't like any Friday before it. And while they didn't know, there would never be another Friday like it again.
Wherever the red dot goes, you bang.
Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, opened up to $6.7 million at the box office on opening weekend. $1.5 million less than Part 5. As is often the case with ongoing franchises, the films that are poorly received will then affect the box office receipts of its sequel, no matter how good. And that was certainly the case here. Audiences felt burned by A New Beginning, when Jason technically wasn't even in the movie. Would the same thing happen again where it's another imposter? Some people weren't convinced, and Jason Lives wasn't able to reach its true potential because of it. Instead, Paramount was looking at their most expensive Friday the 13th yet, and they brought in $2 million less than the previous film. As this trend continued with subsequent films, Paramount decided they wanted out of the series they often considered a red-headed stepchild. So in stepped The House That Freddy Built, and New Line took over the franchise. While the results have been fairly polarizing, there's a lot of love and reverence for the series amongst its makers now. Unfortunately, the Friday the 13th rights are a bit of a mess currently. Victor Miller says he owns elements, while Sean Cunningham says he owns elements. They've been duking it out in court for years, and we don't appear any closer to a new Friday film. Unless you believe Corey Feldman, which is a tall order these days. Even Part 3's Larry Zerner, now an entertainment lawyer, has said he doesn't see this ending anytime soon. So while we don't have any new Fridays on the horizon, at least we have a whole catalog to go back on and enjoy. And right there at the top of the heap is Jason Lives, with its fun tone.
Does he think I'm a farthead?
Meta story,
Look, there's no time for this bullshit. Jason's gotta be stopped.
and its lead man just having a good old time hacking and slashing some miscreants. Hell, he even gets to take out some Wall Street types. So don't go thinking this isn't relevant to you in 2021. Just because you're not at Camp Crystal Lake, there's always a Friday the 13th around the corner, and no one is safe. Thank you for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our JoBlo Horror Videos channel, tell your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We're an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.